You have to have an open mind. You have to be accepting of the information that you're receiving. You have to be accepting of the other ideas that other people have. And if you have a closed mind, you're going to fall apart.
That people bring up a lot, and I think they're pretty interchangeable, and it's relationships and trust, right? Trust is built on relationships. Relationships are built on trust. If you don't trust me, we don't really have a relationship. If you want to be a good leader, you have to understand human nature. And the places where human nature reveals itself most clearly are times of extreme sorrow, pain, suffering, and inhumanity. And if we don't recognize what causes that, where that comes from, and that it's actually possible, then it's bound to happen again.
Our minds they're pliable. Everyone's minds are pliable. And it's different levels. Some people have more pliable minds than others, but our minds are pliable and we get influenced by our environment. That's what happens. Music, words that you read, movies, books, social media, the news, the people you're around, family, friends, people that you work with. You're getting influenced. That's what's happening. Think about how you feel when you hear some aggressive music. Think about what that does to your mindset. You hear aggressive music and you start feeling a little bit amped up. Or you hear some sappy music or some party type music. It impacts you. It influences the way you're thinking. Movies can change your mood, right? I mean, everyone's felt that. You watch some movie, it's a happy movie, it's a sad movie, it's an action movie. It influences the way you're thinking. Your friends. You got friends that like to party, right? They like to go out. They like to drink and go out to the clubs. You're around those people, all of a sudden you start feeling that little urge. And you got other friends that are disciplined. They are going to go to the gym early in the morning. They make you want to work out. So these are examples that we might not be thinking about them, but if you think about them, you know they're obvious. And this is happening all day long. This is happening all day long. Our minds are morphing from minute to minute if we let them. If you are not paying attention, if you are on cruise control, then your mind is not under your own control. We can't be in cruise control. You can't let your mind be in cruise control. You have to be cognizant of what you're thinking. You have to be cognizant, you have to be aware of how you are being influenced. Because in this day and age, right now, if you aren't careful, you can slide down the path of least resistance, the path to weakness, the path to fragility, and the path to a lack of control as to what is happening in our lives, in your life. Life will happen to you instead of life happening for you. Do not allow that. Just do not allow that. You have to take control. You can actually control how you feel. You can control what you think, and you can definitely control what you do. Do not be a slave to influence. You gotta be the master of your mind. You gotta control your mind. You gotta exercise mind control.
The guy actually in charge of the whole platoon, he's not very experienced. He didn't listen. He didn't take advice. He didn't take guidance. Everything was like his way or the highway. And we had a mutiny inside of our platoon. We went to our commanding officer and said, "Hey, sir, we don't want to work for our platoon commander. He doesn't listen, he's arrogant." And eventually what ended up happening was this guy got fired as our platoon commander. And that left an impact on me because as I'm watching this I'm thinking to myself, why don't we like this guy? Why doesn't anyone want to listen to this guy? Why don't we want to follow this guy? And the reason, because he was arrogant and he didn't listen and he didn't give us any ownership of everything. Everything was about him. And that would have made an impression on me. That would have left a mark. But the mark got left even more clearly, because when that guy got fired, the guy that came in and took over for him was like, I hate to use the word legendary, but he was a pretty legendary SEAL, had a ton of experience. He'd come up through the ranks and he had been stationed at every different kind of SEAL team. And he took over as our platoon commander. And I kind of thought to myself, well, he's going to take over because we're a bunch of mutineers and they need to put someone really strong that's going to like whip us back into shape. So I was anticipating that we were going to have this super hardcore guy. And this guy shows up and he's got a nice smile on his face and he's super humble. And I remember one of the first things he said to us was like, I look forward to working with you guys. And I was, that word right there, I'm gonna work with you guys. Not I'm in charge, I'm glad I'm taking over, I'm glad to be your commander. It was nothing like that. He said, hey, I'm looking forward to working with you guys. So all of a sudden it was totally different. And he started putting us in charge of things. Instead of him coming up with a plan, he would say, hey, you guys come up with a plan and let me know how you wanna do it. And all of a sudden we had all this ownership, and that made me reflect on the way the first guy had acted compared to the way this guy had acted. And I realized how important it was to be a humble leader and to listen to other people and to give ownership to other people. So if you're working for me, I say, hey, I want you to do this mission, Patrick. Come up with a plan. I'm showing you that I trust what your plan's gonna be. Now I'm gonna make sure that your plan is good. I'm gonna review it, but I'm gonna give you a lot of autonomy. I'm gonna give you trust. And when I give you trust, well, what's your reaction? You think to yourself, this guy trusts me.
Yep.
And then the way I build trust in reverse is when you make a mistake, instead of me jumping down your throat and hanging you out to dry, instead I say, okay, you know what? My fault, I should have given you better direction. Here's what we're gonna do next time. So now you look at me and you go, hey, I screwed this thing up and Jocko still trusts me. I trust him. And that's how I build trust. I give it.
Every human faces challenges, and you don't know what they've been through. Suppressing them isn't gonna help, and nor is letting them run your life. Because you're sad, now you're gonna make a bunch of bad decisions because you're sad. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. You're sad, okay. You get emotional sometimes, okay. Got it. Now, get control of your emotions and carry on with your life. And sometimes you're gonna get hit with those waves. And that's okay. Oh, I'm having an emotional moment right now. There's something wrong with me. No, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. The other extreme is, oh, I'm letting my emotions run my life and I'm making a bunch of bad decisions. And my excuse is, well, I lost some friends or I had this traumatic experience happen to me. That's why I'm doing, that's just an excuse. And it's a very easy excuse. Guess what? It's time to carry on. Remember, don't dwell. I'm in control. This is my life. If you are in the problem, you won't see the solution to the problem. Take a step back, detach from the chaos, detach from the mayhem, detach from your emotions, detach from your ego, and be able to assess the best way to execute. That is the job of a leader. If you take any trait of a human being and you take it to an extreme, masculine or feminine or otherwise, you take it to an extreme, it's going to be a problem. Is it good to have no emotions whatsoever? No, that's called a sociopath. Is it good to let your emotions run your life and make your decisions based on your emotions? No, that's not good either. What do we want to be as a human, as a man? We want to be balanced. It's much easier to be extreme. It's much easier to say, oh, no emotions, cool, and turn them off. That's easier. Or a total emotion mayhem, that's easier. It's harder to find balance. It's harder to find balance in business. It's harder to find balance in life. It's hard to find balance, but you have to be balanced. Your excuses will destroy you and take everything that you ever wanted from you if you let them. When your excuses make you feel a little bit better about the fact that you didn't execute on what you needed to execute on, then they can make you feel better, but they're not helping you. They're not helping you at all. This went wrong, this failed, didn't accomplish this, and it's not the fault of my boss, it's not the fault of my girlfriend, it's not the fault of my parents, It's not the fault of the weather. It's my fault. And I'm going to take ownership of it, and I'm going to fix it. That's what extreme ownership is. Because when you look around at your life and you look around at your job and your financial situation and your relationship and your physical health, and when you look at all those things and all the problems that you may have with those things, and you say, the reason I have all those problems is because of me, that can hurt. That can sting. And a lot of times our ego rejects that and makes excuses and lies. And then we don't have to change anything. And then nothing changes. When the excuses all go away and people can actually confront the fact that this is all because of me, it hurts, but is also unbelievably empowering. Because the more discipline you have in your life, the more freedom you will end up with. Eventually, inaction will cost you. But your default setting should be, I'm going to do something. Just get up, move towards that challenge, and go attack it. Go do something that's hard.
I say this to people all the time. Most important here is, it isn't me. It's you. And sure, you may have grabbed some little foothold from the podcast or from one of the books, but it isn't me that changes you, it's you. You set the small goals, you achieve those goals, then set some more and achieve those, and set some more goals, maybe a little bit bigger, but not that much bigger. Just start. Start small. Start with changing tomorrow morning, just tomorrow morning. Get that squared away. And then move on to the next day and the next, and move your life to a better place. One little step. One little victory at a time.
So I'll hear people say, if you believe it, then you can achieve it. And the problem with that is they're leaving out the most important part of the equation. And that part is work, action, actually doing something. That's what you have to do to achieve anything. You gotta believe it, but you better get the work done. So if you ever find yourself manipulating your language when you want to give up on something, if you want to say it's because of this, because of that, because another reason why you're falling by the wayside, check yourself. You just might be quitting. Don't do it!
A person's strengths are often their biggest weaknesses. And so that also means that their weaknesses can be their strengths. I am weak. In all those ways that I listed, I am weak, but I don't accept that. I don't accept that I am what I am and that is what I'm doomed to be. No, I don't accept that. I'm fighting. I'm always fighting. I'm struggling and I'm scrapping and I'm kicking and clawing at those weaknesses to change them, stop them. Some days I win, some days I don't. But each and every day, I get back up.
In my old job, when we were clearing buildings or clearing houses or moving down the street, situations, especially as a leader, you gotta pay attention as your team approaches doors inside that building. And you gotta think about what is beyond that door. Is it a hallway? Is it a bedroom? Is it another section of the building that you didn't think about? Is there friendly forces behind that door? Or are there enemies? You can think about that for a second, but eventually what you have to do is you have to get in there. And as I used to tell the boys, bust that door! And I'll tell you the same thing today. Don't wait forever. Don't plan forever. Bust that door! Get in there. It's so easy to put things off. It's so easy to say, I'm gonna do it tomorrow. Well, unless you'll reprogram your brain and tell yourself that tomorrow is not a viable option. Tomorrow doesn't work. Get it done today. That's what you do. And I move forward with my fists clenched toward the battle, toward the struggle. And I fight with everything I've got to overcome those weaknesses and those shortfalls and those flaws. as I strive to be just a little bit better today than I was yesterday. What do you do? What are you supposed to do when you fall off the path like that? What action should you take? Sit there and dwell and think about it forever? No! When you fall off the path, what you do is you get right back on the path. But you still have to run. And that's a good attitude to have, not just when you're checking into SEAL platoon. It's a good attitude to have in life, no matter what. Even if you're not going to win, you gotta fight. Go get some!